Saturday, everyone. Watched the matchroom card for the weekend. Good card. Thought Lidard was brilliant. I like Lidard, good fighter. But I thought that Osaze beat Jimmy Sains, if I'm honest. Very close fight. You know, close fight. Draw would have been fair, but I don't think you can give it to Sains over Osaze. I definitely thought that. I personally thought Osaze got the better of it. And I thought he just nicked it. I had him nicking it by 2 rounds. But again, it was a close fight. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Sains nicked it over him. I think you go over a draw, or I think Osaze won it. But again, listen, boxing subjective is close. I'd like to see that fight again, if I'm honest. I think Osaze deserves that. I think it was a very close fight. Fights like that, you've got to run them back. You've got to run them fights back. I thought, you know, it was good to watch. And again, Osaze's been a bit unlucky in his career. He's had some tough fights. He always gives value for money. And I thought it was a very close fight, which again, I thought that he nicked. But I can see why they sort of gave it to Sains. But at the same time, I feel sorry for Osaze. Do you know what I mean? I definitely think we should see a rematch here. Good fight, really good fight, close fight. Hopefully Sains will learn a lot from that, pick up, and he'll push on and improve in his career, and no doubt go on to win other titles. But again, I definitely think that there needs to be a rematch with that one. I think Osaze, for me, just nicked it.
So last night we had George Lidard versus Tyler Denny headlining. We had this as, it wasn't the co-main actually, it was just on the undercard. What a fight this was. Like a great back and forth, but I would say Osaze was, I hope I'm pronouncing it all right as well, was in front and leading it and controlling it. He was on the front foot majority of the fight. 10-round fight. I would say he won. He probably dropped 2 or 3 rounds. But if you guys watched it, if not, rewatch it with the commentators. It was awful. The commentary was appalling. Osaze would land a shot, wouldn't say anything. Would have big right hand, wouldn't say anything. Sains would land a shot. Oh my, he's coming. What? And like, even their scorecards, they were saying, like, some of them were saying, oh, it's really tight, really tight. It was not tight whatsoever. And I have no, like, favourite here. Like, there was no, like, bias where you're just looking at and watching one person. It was awful. He was controlling the whole fight. Osaze, like, the whole fight. He probably got caught with 1 shot. I think it was in the 4th or 5th, where he wobbled at the end of the round, but then he was completely fine the next one. And when that happened as well, they acted like Sains won the round. He didn't even win that round from that 1 shot. Yeah, it was just... And then to go to the points, I knew what was going to happen. I knew he was going to get robbed from what the commentary was saying. The commentary were awful. And when they read out the scorecards, one of them had a draw, which is a robbery itself. It being a draw was a robbery. And then I think had him by like 2 rounds on 2 of the other cards, or 3 rounds, or something ridiculous like that. And then the commentary saying, yeah, it was a tight fight. I'm like, tight what? What's tight? What are you talking about? Crazy.
So weeks after this fight took place, it seems the narrative has still stuck. Many people, including myself, believe that Osaze was robbed. I think the fact that DAZN posted the highlights from round 7 in the second half didn't really help as well, because in that specific clip, it shows feet clashing with Osaze, and he complains and looks at the referee for a split second, and he just was able to land a shot in that period of time. And before round 7, them not showing anything is quite suspect. Like in rounds 1, 2, 3, or 4, and 6, like what happened? Why don't they want to show us that? Like, it's not a good look if you're starting the highlights at the very end and it's something in which their feet get caught. Sain's feet goes onto Osaze's feet, and I think it was accidental. I don't think it was deliberate. But then in that moment, the crowd then make the loudest noise that they've made throughout the fight. And it's not a round where you could even convincingly say he won it, because if you look at the full round from the beginning, it's not a dominant round from Sains. That is probably the biggest moment of the round for him, and I still don't think he won that round. Now, there's no doubt that Sains did much better in the very last rounds. But from rounds 1 to 6, I don't believe he won any of those rounds. In round 7, I could see why they would have edged it towards him. But I still feel that's just leniency rather than him deserving it. The scoring was just a joke for this fight. Like, how can Bob Williams say 9-7? That is just ridiculous. Then on top of that, you had the zone commentary team being inconsistent. You had Barry Jones, who, out of the rest of them, he was slightly more honest than the others. He wasn't completely honest, but he was slightly more honest than the others. The others knew what they were seeing, but it just seemed like they were trying to paint the narrative that Sains was doing much better than he actually was doing. Like, he had the crowd on his side, making noise at any combinations that weren't really landing, anything, any flurry, anything that he was doing at certain points, the crowd would then make noise, but they weren't actually doing much. It was simply the narrative being shaped where they're making it seem as if he's doing much better when in reality, he looked uncomfortable in there. He looked like he underestimated Osaze. And then for Tony Bellew to then say he believes that Sains is up and that he's winning, and then he contradicts himself by saying he needs to do this, he needs to do that. And it's like, clearly he's not winning then if you're saying that he needs to do these adjustments. He wasn't winning. The fact that you saw Eddie Hearn, Baron, Sains' team just looking worried throughout the fight were the telltale signs. For Bellew to say that Sains is up when the zone commentary team are contradicting that, whereas Barry Jones was the only one actually saying actually Osaze is up. And he said that twice in round 3 and in round 8. This was a really good fight to watch. It's been very easy to watch it back, but the result just wasn't a fair one. And they have to run it back. They have to have a rematch so that they can conclude who the actual winner should have been on the night. And I feel both fighters have been in the ring now for 10 rounds, so they can definitely make any adjustments they need to make to have a conclusive victory. It just seems stacked against Osaze. Like, the referee then penalized him here. I think it was in round 8. I don't know what for. It wasn't clear. And no doubt, this is something that is going to affect you mentally, put you off your game and ruin your momentum. Like, why he did this wasn't, it made no sense. Like, Sains kept putting his head down and like keeping himself vulnerable in certain situations. I believe if Osaze didn't have the restraint that he had, like, he actually could have hurt him, like, and hit him to the back of the head. But luckily he didn't, because he kept turning his head and just allowing himself to be in certain angles. And throughout the fight, this was allowed alongside clenching and excessive holding from Sains, which is not uncommon when it's the A-side fighter against the B-side fighter. So there were many things which it was strange that the referee did this here, because this was towards the end of the fight and both fighters definitely getting tired, definitely now trying to win the later rounds. Why would you then ruin the flow of the fight? Like, you literally did this and it just ruined the flow, mainly for Osaze because he's the one being penalized there. But throughout the fight, there's excessive clenching. There's Sains putting his head in certain positions, turning his head, where he's the one making it awkward, where Osaze's punching downward, still aiming correctly, not trying to punch the back of his head. But Sains is the one putting himself in. And a big part of it is because he can't really fight on the back foot really well. So when he comes to his defensive capabilities, he's always just quite vulnerable and easy to hit. And he wasn't making these adjustments in the fight. And I believe they should run it back. And it seems like the narrative is that many people agree with this.